Former Formula One driver Romain Grosjean makes his first appearance at the bumpy Sebring International Raceway. He tested with two other drivers today, and we were there. So let's get talking about what has gone down at Sebring in IndyCar testing. And welcome to my hotel room here at the 7 Hotel. They didn't pay me for that, but they did, I guess, in some ways, because they let people sit there and film testing all day. It's fantastic, and honestly, it's the nicest hotel I've stayed in quite a while. But you weren't here to hear a hotel review. You were here to hear about racing and the testing that happened with IndyCar today. So you had only 3 cars testing today. Now, there were supposed to be more, including James Hinchcliffe, but they decided that their time was better spent rather than running here, going to Texas and testing there. There's a couple of tests scheduled later on this week, which we'll be talking about, of course. But the other drivers, of course, Dale Coyne Racing with Ed Jones, and of course Romain Grosjean, as well as Max Chilton for Carlin Racing. Now, as you may have noticed or may have already seen from my Pure Sound video I did prior to the lunch break, Romain Grosjean was here in his 2021 livery, and it's not really a new livery if you're a regular viewer of my channel. You've already seen that with the Austin Dillon Rick Ware Racing Eurasia Ligier that was run at the Rolex 24. And then if you go to NASCAR and the Daytona 500, Rick Ware Racing has also run that in their Cup program. So it's really a cross-brand promotion from Rick Ware Racing to kind of run that purple paint scheme, which is nice as far as I'm concerned, as you can probably tell. So there's not really lap times to report from this, even if I had them, which I don't for some reason. From this test, there just really wasn't any kind of resource to kind of figure it out outside of your own stopwatch. And ultimately, with only 2 teams and 3 cars testing, and nothing against Dale Coyne or Carlin Racing, but you didn't have the Penske, the Ganassi, the Andretti to really base what a fast time would be. It's kind of difficult to say who was fast and who was slow. What I can tell you is how much or how perhaps little was actually done. So we had Dale Coyne Racing really, I think, put in the most laps. They ran a lot. In fact, all 3 cars ran a lot between the hours of about 9:30 to the lunch break at noon. In particular, it was the Dale Coyne team with Grosjean and Jones, who, in my observation, really did the most laps. Grosjean in particular. Remember, Sebring is a very bumpy circuit, so this is really the only way you can test for the American style of street racing that we have here. For example, St. Petersburg, very early on in the year, the season finale is at Long Beach, and the road courses in Europe and the street courses in Europe are all very smooth. American tracks tend to have a lot more character. Even our street circuits have a lot more character because, quite frankly, IndyCar doesn't, twist the arm of the promoters to repave the track to Formula One standards like the F1 series does. So it's all very bumpy. Well, where can you test for bumpiness? Sebring. So Grosjean was doing a lot of running. Dale Coyne Racing was doing a lot of running. Now, in the afternoon session, it was quite interesting because while the Coyne team was running, they ran more than Carlin did. None of the cars were really running nearly as much as they had been in the morning. That's very interesting. I'm not really sure how to explain that outside of perhaps they were out of consumables from running so much in the morning, or they were just running a different testing plan. Perhaps they were running on high fuel loads to begin with, and then trying different setups and things to get the drivers comfortable with various kinds of setups. Who knows? That's just an interesting observation I had, that as soon as the lunch break was over, it seemed like there was a lot less laps being turned. So there really wasn't much else to take away from this. Again, it was a 3-car test. It was not a full field test by any stretch of the imagination. But I think this is the last, or one of the last tests before the beginning of the season. Obviously, we have the Texas test coming up, which will be a 2-day test. Unfortunately, I won't be there. That's the first day, which is tomorrow, will be a 7-car aero test to try to make sure that the racing is better than it was last year. Another thing that they are doing to make it so that race will be better is that, thank God in Greyhound, the PH1 traction crap is gone from the outside of Texas Motor Speedway as far as my understanding goes. So that will automatically help, and if they do the right aero changes, I think we could have a very competitive race at Texas, and we haven't seen that in quite a while. Then on Wednesday, there will be a 17-car, I guess you could call it an open test. It won't be the full field, obviously, with only 17 cars, but it'll be enough where we'll get a representative idea of where everyone is in terms of their oval testing program. And speaking of oval testing, as we get into April, like I mentioned in the hybrid testing video from Indianapolis, on the 8th and 9th, they're doing a full field Indy 500 test. And while it will be open to pretty much everybody, there will only be 32 cars there, meaning we'll be missing around 4 or 5 cars that'll eventually end up rounding out the entire entry list for that. But it's a very exciting time in IndyCar, despite the fact that the next race is still, or the first race of the season is still 3 weeks away. But because of that gap, I've had the opportunity to bring you coverage of stuff like this. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters who have stuck with me through the COVID times. When I originally started that Patreon page, it was really like I'm going to be traveling at least once a month. That obviously hasn't been able to happen. So as things begin to open up and the world begins to go back to the real normal, I will certainly be putting an effort in to give you guys coverage of events like this one. And I certainly think covering these tests, I think, is very valuable. I think more people should do it, quite honestly, because NBC isn't here. I'm the only one with a camera who's really shooting this. So, when something happens, I'm at least here. Somebody will be able to tell you what's going on, and I hope I can provide that coverage going forward. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy next couple of months. I hope you guys are ready for it. April and May, going to be absolutely stacked to the ceiling on content, particularly on the IndyCar side, but don't worry. NASCAR fans, sports car fans, we got some big plans coming for the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, coming to you from a beautiful hotel in a beautiful state, beautiful weather, 90 degrees. Oh, it was so warm. Can't wait to go back to New Jersey. We'll see you in the next video.